Now, the next thing we want to do is we'll add some cargo weight. So these two areas of deck, we will go ahead and add 7,500 kilograms to each of these two spaces. And that's going to be this deck down here and deck up here. So that'd be the second deck in the third compartment aft. So the easiest way to do that is going to be, these are our plate groups. So we can go ahead and select a plate group initially and click the ID button to create a new one. The main difference between the general group and the plate group is you can see, the plate group has an associated mass. If we created a general group, we could convert it to a plate group later. In fact, we could do that simply by dragging it from the general subfolder here into the plate subfolder. Now, we haven't created the plate subfolder yet, but when we create a plate group, that'll be created automatically for us. So we know that we wanted each of these to be 7,500 kilograms. So we'll go ahead and assign that weight first. And we'll call it forward one, cargo one. And I'm just going to select, zoom in here a little bit. I will select one element there. And instead of add by seed, because that would search the entire deck, it would add everything. And we could do that and then modify the plate group to delete everything forward of this bulkhead and after that bulkhead. But what's easier is to do the add by seed advanced. And then we can simply set X limits from the forward bulkhead to the aft bulkhead and say add, and it just grabs all of those. Now, if we want, we could add the attached beams here, but that's not going to matter because it's a plate group. Those are going to get deleted if they were added in here. You can see the bars exist here. So we've assigned everything here. We have the weight. We can go ahead and say create. But if we come back and edit that and we scroll down, you can see none of the beams were saved, only the plate elements. And then we'll click on ID again and we'll call this one cargo 2. And the mass is still populated in there because we were just editing cargo 1. And for this one, we don't have to worry about the extents. That's the full area of this deck. It doesn't go any further aft. So we can just say add by seed and create it. And if we can see it created the plate group for us here, we have cargo 1 and cargo 2. If we view them, we can just see those two plate groups in space. With only two, it's very easy to tell them apart, but we could also use the assign color option here. We wound up with two very similar colors. We can simply say assign color again, and it'll give us a new random color for each one. If we use context default color, it's going to go back to the original coloring of the quads and tris. We come back into the group assign color. You can come back into the parts tree and make the top the view part. Everything else will be a wireframe, and you can see where those loaded plate groups are in your hull. And we'll switch back to element type and refresh to get our whole model back. And again, we've defined those plate groups with masses, but if we check our weight summary, we're still at 336,307 because they haven't been added to the load case. So we come back into our load case here and we go to the mass tab and the plate area, and we have two cargo groups, cargo 1 and cargo 2 for plate groups, and we can click on the add, but instead let's do add all so we don't pull them both in one shot. Modify to create it. This one is obviously very easy for the total mass of our cargo here, but when you're dealing with something like the volume groups, using this total mass option is kind of handy to see what the total mass is for all of your defined mass groups in this area. And with the volume groups, there's an option in here to bring up a volume table. You don't get something similar when you right click on the plate groups. That's a very handy feature for either checking your tank volumes in a spreadsheet or for generating a table for a report. So now that those are added to the load case, when we check our weight summary, you'll see now we're up to 3393. And if we were to scroll up here, you can see exactly where that weight is coming from. Here's the summary of the plate group weights, summary of the nodal group weights, summary of the module self weights, and so forth. And if we were to rebalance, it knows it was balanced, but since we've added weights, we're going to go ahead and rebalance. And we can see where the new water plane is. It got slightly deeper, but not much.